everyone, so in the previous video I showed you how to set up the first story at the beginning of a People of the Lantern campaign, and in this video me and my friend are going to play through this first hunt. I've got the two survivors on the left who are Urza and Zachary, which are these two up here, and my friend has got Alistair and Lucy, these ones over here. We've put these two universal cards that come in the core box that I don't think have any real defined purpose here, so that we can show you how the monster controller card works. This is like a tile that you pass between each player at the start of every monster turn. Okay, with that said, the monster goes first, so the first thing we're going to do is take the monster's turn. So we know what this top card's going to be because in the first story it's always Claw, and you can press the tab button to get a closer look at this card. So yeah, the way that this works is that there's a kind of targeting section of the card, which is how the monster decides what it's going to do, and the monster controller uses this to figure out how to select a target for this attack. And then you have this little flow marker here, which we'll get into more in a minute. And then you have the move and attack portion on this card, which tells you kind of what the attack will do. So let's do this. So picking our target, we go from top to bottom here. So the first one is closest threat facing in range. So if this kind of set of criteria is fulfilled, then you do this, and if it isn't, then you move on to the next line. And if that one isn't either, then you usually end up with a no target, which we will show you in a later card, I guess. So closest threat facing in range. So there's a few things going on there. So a threat is any survivor that is not knocked down. There are certain ways that you can make yourself not a threat in other ways using pieces of gear and stuff, but in general, it's a survivor that isn't knocked over. Facing means kind of drawing this line in front of the monster, everything from that point onwards across the entire width of the board. So nothing along the sides of him here or here, nothing behind him, but everything in front of his model. And there's lots in the rulebook that explains this in more detail. Closest threat facing in range. So in range means that he can reach with his movement allowance. So if you look at his card here, which is part of the setup that we did, you can see that in the first story and also at level 1, his movement is 6. So that means he could move 6 squares. So that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, 6 in any direction. So all of our survivors here are in range. Let's get this card back up again. And they're all facing, and they're all threats. So that means that it's up to the monster controller to choose which survivor the monster's going to go to. Now, it always has to take the shortest possible route, I think. I'm the monster controller. I started with the monster controller tile, and if I target my own survivor, then I get 1 insanity, and these are both my survivors, so I'm going to target one of them and get 1 insanity on that survivor. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. I don't need the whole 6 to get into range. And I'm going to give Zachary, which is the survivor I targeted, 1 insanity on my character sheet here. Yeah, so next part is to actually do the attack. So he moved, and he will now attack. So his speed is 2, which means we roll 2 dice. Sure, those 2 will do. And his accuracy is 2+, meaning that on anything except a 1, these are going to be hits. Okay, so that's a 5 and a 9, so that's 2 hits because they're both more than 2. And they're each going to do 1 damage because it says 1 damage here. So that means I'm going to pick up 2 dice because there's 2 sets of 1 damage, and I'm going to roll them. And I rolled head and body. So I could use a survival here to dodge this, but for the sake of just showing you a simple attack first, let's just take the damage. So he's going to take 1 damage to the head because he doesn't have any armor here. Oops, I should have filled in the armor on this guy. And also 1 body. So because we filled in a heavy damage box here, and the head only has a heavy damage box. Once your armor has run out, it's only got this heavy damage box. I'm gonna knock him down with the K button. So he's knocked down now, and he will get back up at the end of the next monster turn. So he's going to be laid out for his turn. Cool, and that's all the monster's going to do, and that's the end of the monster's turn. So now it's our turn, and you can basically take survivors' turns, the 4 survivors that are here. You can take their turns in any order that you like, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna go first here. And now you can see on my survivor record sheet here that Urza, my other survivor, has 5 movement, so she can go 1, 2, 3, and still have movement left over. And then she can attack. So every survivor has a move and an attack in their turn, or a move and an action, I should say. And I'm going to use my action on Urza's turn to attack. So I'm going to have a look at my weapon here, which is a founding stone. And this top number here is my attack speed. So this is how many dice I roll when I'm hitting with this weapon. So that's 2. So let's roll 2 dice. I got a 6 and a 9. So this second number here is my accuracy for the weapon. It's what I need to roll in order to hit. And that's a 7+, so any rolls of a 7 or higher are hits. But actually, because I'm standing in the blind spot of the monster, which is these 2 spaces behind him, and you can see the blind spot for each monster in the rulebook. Because I'm standing in his blind spot, I get +1 to my accuracy. So actually, this is 2 hits. Because the 6 becomes a 7, and 7 is what we needed to score a hit. So that means that I score 2 hits. So what we're going to do is look at 2 hit locations. The first one is going to be Strange Hand, because it always is when you're fighting the Prologue Lion. And the second one is Beast's Heel. So because I did 2 hits, we draw both of these, and then I can choose which one I want to try and wound first. So there's a hit portion and then a wound portion. So you can see here that the Strange Hand card has what's called a reaction, this little R here, on failure. So if I fail to wound this one, I'm going to have some kind of reaction happen. So because of that, I'm going to decide to hit this one first, because there's no risk of me having some kind of bad reaction from the monster if I fail to wound it, or even if I succeed, because some reactions happen on successful hits too. Or wounds, rather, I should say. So I'm going to try and wound the Beast's Heel, and the way I do that is by rolling again. I rolled a 4, and I add the strength of the weapon, which is this number at the bottom, the 3rd number, so that's 1, which gives me 5. And if I look at the monster's basic action card again, I can see that his toughness is 6, and that's the number that I needed to roll in order to successfully wound. So it's good that I chose Beast's Heel, because if I chose Strange Hand, then I would be having this bad reaction where I would get attacked by the lion using his basic action. So that's kind of good in a way. Not great because I didn't wound him, but that's fine. And let's put this in the hit locations discard pile, which for some reason is sideways on this version. I don't know why that is. I think that's going to be fixed in the next patch. It's kind of funny. Okay, so next one, Strange Hand. Let's roll to see if I wound that one. Fail. Okay, so I also failed that one. This is not going great. So let's see. Instinctively striking back, the white lion's oddly human hand darts forward. Perform basic action targeting the attacker. So that's actually on this same card that we've been looking at over here. If I flip it over, his basic action is pretty much exactly what he just did with his claw card. It's just a basic move and attack targeting the closest survivor in field of view. So we haven't seen field of view just yet. This is on a lot of cards in this targeting portion, and it means anywhere except the blind spot. So actually, normally this wouldn't hit me because I'm in the blind spot, so I'm not eligible for this criteria. But because this card here says perform basic action, target the attacker, we actually skip the entire targeting portion and just go straight to the move and attack. So he's going to target me regardless of this first portion. So he's going to move and attack which in this instance means just turning around. And he's going to roll another 2 dice. And they're both hits because they're both more than 2, or 2 or more. And that's going to be another 2 damage. So that's a waist and a body. And again, I could use some survival to prevent this, but I'm not going to for simplicity's sake right now. So I take 1 to the body, and this time I actually have some armor because of my cloth, loincloth, which gives me 1 armor point at the waist hit location. And that means that instead of taking a light damage like I just did for the body, I just go down to 0 armor on the waist instead. Cool. So that's Urza's turn, and now all of the rest of the survivors can go in any order. Zachary can't do anything because he's on the ground because he got knocked over by the white lion. So it's my friend's turn to take Lucy or Alistair's turns. Okay, so my friend is going to move Lucy into the blind spot, and she is going to attack with her founding stone as well. So that means she's going to roll these 2 dice here, and let's see what she gets. 5 and 7. Okay, so we know that a 7 is a hit because our accuracy of 7 here. And although we get +1 to our roll for being in the blind spot, this 5 only becomes a 6, which is not enough to score a hit because it's not a 7. So that means it's 1 hit, and I'm going to put this in the discard pile since it's done, and draw the hit location. So straining neck. And now my friend can roll to see if she wounds this one. So that's a 6, +1 for the founding stone's strength of 1. So a 7, and again, if we look at the basic action card, we can see that that's more than the toughness of 6 that the first story white lion has. So that is a wound. So what that means is that we pick up 1 card from the AI deck without looking at it, and we put it in the wound stack. So that means that the monster's pool of moves that it can use has gotten smaller, but that the moves that are still left in the wound stack are more frequent, if you like, because there's fewer to choose from. So monsters can get weaker from this happening if you get rid of the right cards, or if you're lucky and the nastier AI cards leave the deck. But the monster can also get more dangerous if they've only got 2 cards and they're both really nasty. Then they're going to be doing those every turn or every other turn. So that's one of the considerations when you're fighting a monster. Okay, so next up is Alistair. So my friend's gonna move to the side because there's no room in the blind spot now to get that nice +1 accuracy. And from the side, it will just be 2 unmodified rolls. And neither of them hit because neither of them are a 7. Okay, so now it's back to the monster's turn. So let's see. Oh, also, because it's a new turn, we give the monster controller card to player 2. And now that player 2 is the monster controller, that means my friend is going to draw an AI card and resolve it. Cool, so she drew Grasp. So looking at the targeting, it says closest knockdown survivor in range. Uh-oh. So we have a knockdown survivor in range, which is Zachary, my guy that got knocked over in the previous turn, and he's in range because he's right next to the monster. If it said in field of view, then he wouldn't. The lion wouldn't be able to target Zachary, but because it says in range, he is targetable. And so he's targeted Zachary, and he'll now move. You just saw my friend turn the lion around. And he's going to do a speed 1, accuracy 2+ attack. Lantern 10. That's what's called a perfect hit, but it doesn't actually matter in the instance where the monster's rolling. Only when survivors are rolling, as far as I can think of. I don't think it matters for monsters at all. So that's obviously more than 2, because a lantern is a 10. And so there's going to be a damage roll now of 1. Which hits the foot. And so because the attack has already hit, because the hit roll was successful, we know this damage is going to occur, and then afterwards there's a trigger here that says that after damage has occurred, the white lion will move away from all threats with Zachary grabbed in tow, and he'll also suffer some damage, 1 damage per monster level, 1 in this instance. But I'm actually going to take this opportunity to talk about survival now. So there are various survival actions that you can take in the game, and survivors start with 1 survival that you get for naming them, and they start with the dodge survival action. And survival actions are quite complicated, so I'm not going to get into too much detail right now, but just know that in this instance, dodge lets us dodge 1 successful hit. So because that successful hit that would have done some damage here results in this trigger afterwards, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to prevent the damage, which will also prevent the trigger because there's no damage for it to happen after. So I'm going to spend my 1 survival here by hovering over and pressing 0. And I'm going to just nullify this hit to the leg. So no damage happens, and the trigger after the damage also doesn't happen. So Zachary is safe for now. And that's the end of the monster's turn. So Zachary can now get back up again. Almost. There we go. And it's our turn again. Okay, so we've conferred about what we want to do, which if you're playing with other people, you're going to want to do a lot in this game, in my experience. And we've decided that Alistair is going to hit the white lion first from this angle for reasons that I'm not going to get into because they're a bit complicated for the moment. But yeah, Alistair's going to hit first. And because he's hitting first, he can then move after if he wants to, because you can take the action and the move in any order. Okay, so go ahead, Boar. Great, so this time Alistair got a hit. And I'm going to draw the hit location card over here. Let's put this one away because it's resolved. Beast's tricep. So now Boar's going to roll the wound roll and add 1 from the strength of the founding stone. 8, nice. So there is a reaction here that would happen on failure, but because it wasn't a failure, we just go ahead and do a wound. Cool. And now Alistair can move if he wants to. Okay, so we're going to move Alistair out of the way so that Lucy on Boar's turn can go around the back here and hit from the blind spot as well. Okay, so Lucy's going to go around the back here because she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movement, so just enough to get around to the blind spot. And then let's see what she gets. So a perfect hit, which in this instance doesn't do anything, especially there are certain gear cards that do things on perfect hits, and a 5, which becomes a 6. A perfect hit is always a hit, regardless of any other modifiers as well. And yeah, a 5, which becomes a 6 for being in the blind spot, which is not enough to hit because we need a 7. So that's 1 hit. Let's see where it is. In the beast's elbow. So this also has a failure condition, which says the monster moves forward in a straight line and grabs any survivors it runs over. So that would be bad news for Zachary if that happens. So let's hope that it doesn't. Nice, that's a wound. So it doesn't happen, which is great. And another wound. Cool, so Boar's taken both her survivors' turns, so now I will take a turn with Urza. And I'm going to hit first and then move. So 1 miss and 1 hit. And the hit is in the Beast's scapular deltoid. So that has the same failure condition, and I'm going to roll to see if I wound successfully. And I do. This is going great. So that's another wound. No failure reaction happens, so we're all happy. And now Zachary can go. So let's move this way so that we don't get that same failure reaction that could cause Alistair to get grabbed. So let's roll my 2 attacks with Zachary and see what we get. So that's a 9 and a 7, which even though I'm not in the blind spot is enough to do 2 hits. So that's the Beast's Back and Beast's Temple. And as I mentioned before, we can choose which one to do first. So this hit location card here, a failure here would mean that I get basic actioned and hit, which now that I don't have any survival left on Zachary is a little bit more dangerous. Beast's Back would send the monster running forward and grab anyone that he runs over, but that wouldn't actually harm us because, as you can see, there's no one in front of him. So I think I'm going to go with that. It's worse in a sense because he is out of range afterwards, so I won't be able to hit with my second attack if this happens, if this failure reaction happens here. But at least it means that I don't get hit, which hurts a lot and could potentially kill me because I don't have very much health left in certain parts of my survivor. So let's go with Beast's Back. That's a 1, and that means that the monster's going to full move forward, and he hits this wall and stops here. Cool. But yeah, we avoided potentially getting swatted by the lion and taking some damage, so that's good at least. Okay, so now it's the monster's turn again. I'm going to take back the monster controller tile. And let's reveal the next card. So it's Chomp. Closest threat facing in range. There are no survivors facing, so we move on to the next one. And then closest threat in field of view, so that's everywhere except for the blind spot. And I think by that measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think everyone here is equidistant from him. So we can choose, or I can choose because I'm the monster controller, who he targets. And I think I'm going to target Urza because she still has 1 survival, and it means that I get to have an insanity from the monster controller tile here. So let's see. Targeted me, moved. Oh, let's give myself my insanity. And insanity, as you can see from the sheet, is a little bit like armor for different hit locations, except that it has some extra stuff that it does. So because you become insane once you reach 3 or more, that has multiple consequences, good and bad. So yeah, we're targeting Urza, and we're going to do a speed 1 attack here. Whoops, wrong one. And he rolled a 1, which is the only thing he could roll that wouldn't hit me, but because it's a 2+ accuracy attack, which is great because this is an attack that always hits the head location, and I don't want to get my head chomped by a lion, so that's good. Cool, so that's the end of his turn, and now it's our turn. So we're going to discuss what to do. Okay, we've decided that we're going to start by going around to the blind spot with Urza, and let's roll 2 dice because of our 2 speed with the Founding Stone, and that's 2 misses because they both become 6s and we need a 7. So next up, yeah, let's move Zachary around the back, and same again. So 2 misses again. Cool, so Boar's going to move Alistair in and attack from the side. And let's see, we've got a hit and a miss, and the hit is in the Beast's flank. Cats hate this. Okay. So she needs a 6, which a 5 plus 1 strength for the Founding Stone is a 6, so that's a wound. However, this reaction here is on a wound rather than on a failure, so let's see what it says. Cats hate this. The monster is very upset. The attacker gains the priority target token. So let's grab that out of the box now. Okay, so we've got the priority target token. Let's have a look what it does. So whenever a monster performs a pick target action, it picks you. And when you're picked as a target, discard this token. So let's see how this works, placing it under the survivor. That was Alistair, right? Very nice. It's not really visible, but that's fine. Cool. So yeah, as it says, the next time the monster does something, it's gonna automatically attack Alistair. I don't think I did the wound, did I? I need to do the wound as well. Okay, so we gave the priority target token to Alistair and did a wound. And now, as you can see, the AI deck is empty, which means that the next time the monster draws a card, we're going to shuffle the discard pile back into the AI into the AI slot here. It also means that we know every move that the monster is going to do, because it's only going to be things that we've already seen from now on. Cool. So Lucy to go next. Okay, so Lucy is going to attack from the same side as Alistair, and let's see how this goes. Okay, so we've got a 6, which isn't enough, and a 3, which also isn't enough. So that's the end of our turn. So now let's flip this over and shuffle it with the G button, and then put it back on the AI card slot, and then flip it over, chomp again. Oh yeah, also we need to give Boar the monster controller tile as well. And because of the priority target token on Alistair, we ignore the targeting on Chomp, and instead it just automatically targets Alistair instead. So Boar's going to rotate the monster to face Alistair, and then roll the 1 speed attack. Okay, it's a 3, so that's going to hit because it's more than 2, and that means that there's 1 damage to the head because it's got the Headhunter trigger. So Alistair can either survival dodge this like I did with Zachary earlier on, or just take it in the head. And he's going to survival dodge it. So the survival gets reduced to 0, and he avoids that attack completely. Question for any more experienced Kingdom Death players here. I'm not sure how it works in this version of Kingdom Death. When you are the monster controller, it says here that whenever you target your survivor, you gain +1 insanity, but my recollection is that's only when you have a choice, so not in this instance, because Alistair had the priority target token, which we need to take away now. Yeah, please let me know if I'm getting that wrong, but I believe that +1 insanity only happens if you have a choice and you choose your own character. Or survivor, I should say. Okay, so that's the end of the monster's turn, and now it's our turn. Okay, so we're going to move Lucy into the blind spot of the monster, because she's got just about enough movement to do that if she goes around the top way. And yeah, she's going to roll. Obviously, every turn is quite similar at the moment because with everyone having Founding Stones, everyone has pretty similar capabilities, but different survivors become very different over time based on their gear and their different disorders and fighting arts and things like that. Okay, so we had 1 miss there and 1 hit in the Beast's ribs. So here's another wound reaction here, and this one's actually a good one rather than a negative one. So let's see if Lucy can wound the monster and get the good reaction. That's a 5 plus 1 from the Founding Stone is a 6. So yeah, that's a wound. So if the attacker has 3 plus understanding, the sound of cracking ribs is encouraging, and the attacker gains 1 survival. Unfortunately, we don't have 3 understanding at this point because it's only the first hunt, so no one is likely to have it just yet. So that's not going to happen. The reaction isn't going to happen, but we can do 1 wound anyway. And next up, I'm going to move. Let's see. I'm going to move Zachary around here and attack from the blind spot. And that is 1 hit in the fuzzy groin. Yep. So let's roll to see if I wound the fuzzy groin. I don't wound it. Okay. So that leaves Urza and Alistair, and I think Alistair should probably go first so that he's not in front of the monster. So Boar's going to move him around one of the sides. Okay, and then gonna roll again. So 2 hits this time, perfect hit and a 7. Let's see what we get. Whoops. Let's look at this one. Beast's femur and Beast's ear. So there's a negative reaction on Beast's ear, but not on Beast's femur. So Boar's going to attack Beast's femur first. And it's a fail because it's less than the toughness of the monster, even with +1 from the Founding Stone. So that's going to go in the discard pile. And then the Beast's ear happens next. And that's also a fail. So there's a failure reaction on this card. The white line jumps back. Without turning, move the monster 1 space directly away from the attacker. And cancel all unresolved hits now out of range, which is fine. Okay, and then that just leaves Urza to attack. So I'm going to move her up here and roll these 2 dice. 2 hits. In the Beast's Knee and the Glorious Mane. Okay, so the Glorious Mane has the Impervious trait, I guess, which means that it can't be wounded. So you don't remove AI cards if you wound or critically wound one of these cards. Neither of these have bad reactions, so I'm going to attack the Beast's Knee first. That's a 9, so that's going to be a wound. Monster's getting pretty low now. And finally the Glorious Mane. 3, so that's a fail, but I wouldn't have wounded it anyway. Okay, and now it's the monster's turn, so we will move the monster controller card back to me. And shuffle the... Oh, there's only 1 card left. Cool, so the monster now only has Chomp, so that's the only card that he can draw on his turn. And let's see how he's going to target. So closest threat facing in range. No one's facing currently because it measures from this front line here. Closest threat in field of view. So Lucy is not in field of view. Zachary is 1 space away. Alistair's 1 space away, so it has to be Urza. So I don't think I get the 1 insanity for targeting myself since there's only 1 choice. And it's going to be a chomp to the head, which, as we've seen, is a 1 speed. And that's a 10, so that's a hit. And I'm going to have to take 1 hit in the head unless I spend my 1 survival to dodge and avoid 1 hit. So I'm going to do that and avoid taking this 1 head damage. And that's the monster's turn. Okay, so let's try and close this out. So let's move Urza around to the side here to leave room for Alistair to also hit on his turn. And I'm going to roll these 2 dice. And that's 1 hit and 1 miss. Okay, let's see what hit location we get. Uh-oh, it's the trap. So every monster has at least 1 trap card in their deck. And yeah, this is one of the dangers of hitting the monster. So the attacker is caught in the white lion's ruse and is savagely mauled. The attacker is doomed, which means that you can't spend survival until the card's resolved. So if I had my survival left to spend, I wouldn't be able to spend it on this avoiding any attacks from this. And perform basic action targeting the attacker. So let's have a look at the basic action card again. It's a 2 speed, 2 accuracy, 1 damage hit. And we know it's going to target me because I'm the one on the trap that hit the trap card. And so he rolls 2 dice. And those are both hits. So I take 2 damage. 1 in the head and 1 in the waist. So 1 in the head here and 1 in the waist. Which, because I no longer have my waist armor, does a light damage. And because we filled in a heavy damage slot, Urza is knocked down. Okay, so now that we've hit the trap, we need to take this and shuffle it in to the hit locations deck, so we don't know where it is. And then this becomes, the hit location deck is refilled. Okay, so 3 more survivors still left to go. Let's see if we can kill this white lion before he kills any of us. I'm going to move Zachary next. 2, 3, 4. And Let's see if I can hit. A 9 and an 8. Does that look kind of weird? Okay, so that's two hits. So let's see. I got the Beast Paw and the Beast Temple. Obviously, because we just shuffled the trap back in, it is possible that we could get the trap straight away again if we were very unlucky. So, okay, let's see. Beast Paw has a really nasty failure reaction that gives +2 damage. So I really don't want to get that. But I'm going to have to roll both of these one way or another unless this one kills me. So let's do this one first and see what happens. Or this one could also knock me down. That's another way that could prevent me from hitting the second one. So I rolled a 9, so no failure condition here. And that takes away one more card from the AI deck, which has to be this one because it's the only thing left. And then let's see what happens with the Beast's Paw. So I rolled a 1. So I get basic action targeting me, the attacker, Zachary here, with +2 damage. So let's turn the monster and have a look at our basic action. So it's a speed 2, accuracy 2 + 3 damage attack now. Okay, very luckily for me, he rolled a 1, so one of these isn't going to happen. If both of these hit, we'd be taking 6 damage, which is a lot at this level. But the other one did hit, so I'm going to be taking 3 damage. So this is all one hit, and if I had saved my survival, I could have used it for this 1 3 damage attack, which would have been really valuable. But I didn't, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to take this 3 damage. 3 in the legs. Okay, so luckily I didn't take any leg damage yet, but unfortunately it does mean that I'm going to fill in both of these, and then because I have none left to fill in here, I'm going to be taking a severe injury. So let's do that. First of all, I am knocked down because I filled in my heavy damage box on my character sheet, and we're going to have to look in the rulebook at the severe injuries. So this is a really fun part of the game. When you take a severe injury, you roll a dice depending on where the damage was taken. Head is usually pretty bad, and the others, vary. But we're going to have to roll a d10 on the legs. So let's roll and see what happens. 4. So dismembered leg. Lose a leg. You suffer -2 permanent movement and can no longer dash. That's a survival action that we don't yet have anyway. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice, 1 for each leg. And if you have 2 dismembered leg severe injuries, you must retire at the end of the next showdown or settlement phase. Also gain a bleeding token. So the upshot of that is we need to get a bleeding token out from this box here. And I usually just put these on the survivor sheet. And we also need to remove 2 of our movement, which makes this a 3 movement survivor. And I think that's all we need to do there. And we need to record this in our severe injuries as well. Under impairments. Dismembered leg. Cool. So, great. We survived, which is fortunate, but we did lose a leg, so that's going to be a tricky survivor to use in future campaigns or in future hunts. Cool, so there's still a couple of us still to go, I think. So Boar's going to move Lucy around to the back of the monster, and the monster only needs 1 more hit now to die, so fingers crossed. Okay, so we got 1 miss, but 1 hit in the Beast's Tail. So let's see if we can avoid this reflex with the wound roll. 1. So we full move the monster forward in a straight line, which is 6 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. And because Zachary was moved over, he suffers grab, which means that he is knocked down in front of the monster and suffers 1 damage per monster level. So that's 1 damage. To the body. Ooh. So he's also got heavy damage. But because he's already knocked over, he doesn't get knocked over again. So all things considered, he's kind of doing okay. He's heavily damaged in most parts of his body and bleeding a little bit, but apart from that, he's fine. He's also very slow. And that just leaves Alistair left to go, but because the monster moved so far forwards, I don't think he can make it into range. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. Okay, so my friend's suggesting that we should use the Founding Stone as a demonstration and also to kill the monster. So you might have noticed, as I was looking at the Founding Stone earlier on, that you can spend your activation to sling the stone from anywhere on the board and do an automatic hit that inflicts a critical wound. But in exchange, you archive the card and lose it completely. So Bor's going to do that. She's going to put the Founding Stone back in the box. And let's see where the Founding Stone hits. Because obviously if it hits the trap or the Glorious Mane, then it doesn't do a wound. So it's a bit of a gamble sometimes. Okay, let's see what we got. Beast's Brow. And this is a great chance to show you how critical wounds work. Normally, although we didn't see it in this hunt, if you roll a Lantern 10 on the wound roll, you do a crit. And you read out the bottom part of the card. It also cancels any reactions as well. But we didn't roll any of those. But because we used a Founding Stone, we get a guaranteed crit. So critical wound means that although we're wounding the monster, this part doesn't happen. And if the monster wasn't dead, then it would also get a -1 accuracy token for the rest of this fight. But because that was its last wound and there's none left to take from the AI pile, it's dead. Nice. Okay, now that the monster's dead, let's have a look in the rulebook at what we need to do. So here in the contents, you can see the first story. And let's go to the end of this section and see what we have to do. So the white lion is killed when it's wounded and there are no AI decks in the AI deck or discard pile. And we can read the survivors are victorious section. So if the white lion is killed, the remaining survivors are victorious. Players should fill the first unfilled box in the Hunt XP section of the survivor record sheet to reflect their first successful showdown. So let's do that. This track up here. So we're going to click that box there and this one here. And then we're going to collect our rewards. So this is similar to how most hunts end if you're victorious. We need to take out the White Lion resource cards and basic resource cards, and we get 4 of each. And although we didn't lose any survivors, so we don't need to do anything with this last paragraph, we're going to get all of these resources. So let's take out the White Lion resources. That's these ones here. Basic resources. And give them a shuffle. And see what we got. So let's see. We got 2 broken lanterns, which are scrap. We got 2 monster organs, which you can consume to contract a parasite, which archives all of your consumable gear. I don't think there's many situations where you want to do that, but these are organs which we can use for making stuff later. We also got 2 white fur from the White Lion resources, a great cat bones from the same, and another organ, golden whiskers, here as well. So here is all of our rewards that we'll take into the settlement phase. Okay, well, thank you for watching this first hunt with us. We're going to go ahead to the settlement phase now, and I'll see you in another video.